tonight on News 22.
President Trump is cutting a new deal for his proposed border wall.
A local Pickwick is fighting for the survival of one of their businesses.
And how counterfeit money is turning up in Las Cruces.
All that and more on News 22 Wednesday.
Serving southern New Mexico, this is the award-winning KRWG-TV News 22, where news matters.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Adan Contreras.
And I'm Victoria Valderrama. Trump supporters want to kick the New Mexico governor out of office.
They were upset because of Michelle Lujan Grisham's decision to withdraw National Guard troops from the border. Lujan Grisham was sworn in as New Mexico's 32nd governor on January 1st. More than 3,000 people have signed a petition to impeach the governor. A spokeswoman for the governor says the petition is silly. The New Mexico Speaker of the House says he will not bring it up for a vote. At the border in Sunland Park, Customs and Border Protection is holding more than 3,000 immigrants. They crossed into the U.S. early on Monday. It was the second largest group to cross illegally in the last 24 hours. Authorities say it's the first large group to enter through Sunland Park. Another 330 Central Americans are being detained at Antelope Wells Port of Entry near Lordsburg. Many are families and unaccompanied minors. President Trump says he intends to sign the latest border security deal and avert another partial government shutdown.
But he's not happy about it. Kristen Holmes has the very latest in this report from Washington.
D and E and F.
President Trump signaling he'll sign a bipartisan deal to keep the government open.
I don't want to see a shutdown. Shutdown would be a terrible thing.
Despite not liking it.
I appreciate all the work the Republicans have done because they're really going against a radical left.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill sounding confident while tweaking the final proposal.
The overwhelming majority of the House Democratic caucus will support this legislation.
The agreement includes $1.375 billion for a border barrier, lower than the $5.7 billion President Trump originally demanded for the wall, and even lower than the $1.6 billion included in the Senate proposal rejected by the president in December. But Republicans are urging the president to sign off anyway.
I told him, I said, Mr. President, this is only a down payment on the wall. I said, they said you weren't going to get any money. We did get you some money.
The White House not making any promises on behalf of President Trump.
We want to see what the final piece of legislation looks like. It's hard to say definitively whether or not the president's going to sign it until we know everything that's in it.
Aides saying the president is continuing to weigh his options to fund the border wall outside of Congress, including taking executive action. In Washington, I'm Kristen Holmes reporting.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz says he has a way to pay for President Trump's border wall. He says the government should use the seized fortune of convicted drug kingpin El Chapo Guzman. Prosecutors intend to seize Guzman's assets and wealth he gained as a drug trafficker. Cruz proposed the idea in Congress last month. It has passed to the Senate Judiciary Committee for further debate.
El Chapo Guzman was convicted yesterday in a federal courtroom in New York. Today, Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador says he respects the U.S. legal system and the court's verdict. He says people who think about dealing drugs should reconsider because the crime associated with it harms lots of people.
So I woke up to a little bit warmer temperatures this morning.
That's right, and Andrés will tell us more with a first look at weather.
Yeah, guys, we did see a warmer start this morning, but right now we're going to take a look outside. We have 55 degrees as a current temperature, cloudy skies, and our winds coming from the west-southwest at 10 miles per hour. And our barometer sits at 29.98 inches. Now, as for today, we did reach a high of 65 degrees, which is just a little bit above average for this time of year. We should be around 62. But in the year 1962, we hit a record high of 76. And a year after that, we reached a record low of 10 degrees. We didn't see any rainfall today, but we will see more rain, more clouds, and more wind. When all that comes into the borderland is coming up.
NMSU can almost see the finish line.
The new art building on campus is closer to completion. You can see the steel framework and yellow insulation on Devastali Hall. Since breaking ground in March, construction is moving ahead and all structural and electrical work has been completed and the crew has moved on to the second floor. Plumbing and roofing materials will be brought in this month. The old art building will become a parking lot. Completion is scheduled for July.
The Pickwick on Avenida de Mesilla may not be closing after all. A petition signed by over 2,000 people was sent to the city in an effort called Save Our Pickwick Store. The street median being built in the area wouldn't allow fuel trucks to access the Pickwick. The city previously refused to meet with the owners of the Pickwick. The city has not yet responded to this second request. The work on Valley Drive is part of a $23 million project. She's only been governor less than a month, but Michelle Lujan Grisham is reshaping the state's Medicaid program. Former Governor Susana Martinez wanted to require people under Medicaid to pay co-pays, but Governor Lujan Grisham says she has no intention of forcing low-income New Mexicans to pay for the service. She's asking the federal government to reverse the Martinez policy. It could have an impact on up to 7,000 New Mexicans.
With the anniversary of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting coming up, state lawmakers are looking to make New Mexico schools safer. Many want to see the Senate call for broader background checks on private gun sales and to remove firearms from people who seem suicidal or are a danger to others. The proposal has been approved by the House and Senate vote, and a Senate vote is anticipated this week. New Mexico needs teachers. According to the NMSU College of Education, there were 740 teacher vacancies in the state last year. That's up from 476 in 2017. Now NMSU is working to address the problem. Through a combination of online and in-person classes, students can earn either an elementary, secondary, or special education license in New Mexico. NMSU currently has 50 students in the program, all at the master's level.
They say money makes the world go round, but what happens when that money has no value?
Here in Las Cruces, many local businesses have been dealing with counterfeit currency. News 22's Diana Castillo tells us more.
Counterfeit currency, money that to an untrained eye seems real, but has no real value. Here in Las Cruces, it is a regular thing.
Seen a slight increase maybe in the last couple of months of counterfeit bills that are being picked up by, most of the time, by stores or banks.
Toucan Market is one of many local businesses who check their larger bills before they go into the cash register.
Because we're small, I can't afford to take too much counterfeit money.
Smaller businesses are at risk and take many precautions to avoid counterfeit currency.
We check all of our bills with these pens. You know, you just draw a line across them.
The pen detects bills printed on normal copier paper instead of the fine paper used by the U.S. Treasury. Other ways to detect fake currency is to look for a watermark on the right side of the portrait that can be seen with direct light, or look for matching serial numbers on the left and right of the bills. Anybody who collects cash payments should make sure to look at the bills carefully and not be tricked. Diana Castillo, News 22.
Stay tuned, Andres will be back with your national forecast.
And later, down the drain, why NMSU is pulling the plug on one of its ponds. More on that when News 22 returns.
The KRWG Music Spotlight promotes local talent who perform their own songs. Singer-songwriters and bands with a half hour of original music perform a mini concert in our studios. If you're interested in being on the show, email us at feedback@nmsu.edu and make sure to include a link to your music in the email. Watch the KRWG Music Spotlight anytime in the local TV section at krwg.org.
This season, PBS honors Black history, exploring the roots.
I feel like I come from greatness. Wow, it's humbling.
The stories.
Oh my goodness.
It is a remarkable piece of history.
And the legacy of the African American experience.
It was quite a deal to have a black man singing country music.
Sammy Davis Jr.'s whole life was about confronting obstacles.
See these stories and more.
Welcome back. You're watching News 22 Wednesday,
where news matters.
If you are planning on fishing at the Young Park Pond anytime soon, you're out of luck.
There's no water in the pond. The city is in the process of removing the trash and mud from the pond. They will be replacing 2 aerators and will add a 3rd. All of the fish and animals have been transported out of the pond. The repairs and cleaning began the week of January 28th and is expected to be done later this month. A local group is urging Congress to pass the Natural Resources Management Act. The Senate already approved the proposal with an overwhelming majority. If enacted into law, it would protect areas like the Oregon Mountain Desert Peaks National Monument and the Rio Grande del Norte National Monument in Taos County. The measure is still to be reviewed by other branches of Congress.
The U.S. Customs and Border Protection is working to keep Valentine's Day flower pest-free. At the El Paso ports of entry, chrysanthemums, gladiolas, and koisia are the most commonly prohibited flowers and plant materials because they are known to harbor harmful pests and disease. Individuals purchasing floral arrangements in Mexico for U.S. transport should advise their florists, so prohibited plant species will not be used in the arrangement. Demand for the measles vaccine is surging in Washington state, where an outbreak began nearly 2 months ago.
Some of the people who previously decided not to vaccinate their children are apparently planning to change their minds. CNN's Nick Watt has the story.
Baby Steele has cabin fever. Hasn't been allowed out the house for 14 days now and counting because he might be infected with measles.
We go out to the front porch and watch the dog go to the bathroom and go run around out in front. And that's the highlight of his day.
But measles is no laughing matter. Measles can kill and...
It is exquisitely contagious. So you can be in a room where somebody with measles had left 2 hours earlier and still get the disease.
This outbreak in Washington, just north of Portland, now officially a state of emergency. Clark County publishes a list every day of places infected people have been. The Trailblazers game January 11th, the Portland Airport January 15th, and the Costco January 16th. Did you shop there? Measles was eliminated from this country in 2000, but the CDC says measles can spread when it reaches a community in the US where groups of people are unvaccinated. An infected traveller from Ukraine in the midst of a massive outbreak reportedly came here over the holidays and...
We have large unvaccinated populations in Clark County.
11-month-old Steele, still too young for the shot, was in a doctor's waiting room the same time as an unvaccinated, infected kid.
For the longest time I always said, well, if they don't want to vaccinate, that's not my problem. It's become my problem.
A lot of people are still afraid despite all of the evidence to debunk the association with autism.
Washington state law allows parents to opt out even for personal or philosophical reasons. Lawmakers right now debating a change.
Literally, hundreds of thousands of people in my community have been involved in this issue.
Anti-vaxxers protested outside.
That is not the majority of the patients who decline. Many of the patients who decline are from different religious groups, and then many of them are in the Russian population that's here too.
A large community from the former Soviet Union. Edward Rusu runs a Russian pop station, hasn't vaccinated his kids.
If you read the fine print, I'm sure somewhere it says, there is a possible fatal outcome there, some possible fatal consequences, and that gets you a little worried.
Officials are eager not to blame one ethnic group. They hope information and fear fueled by this outbreak might now change some minds around here.
With this outbreak, I will definitely think that I need to put it on my schedule soon and get it done.
Vaccination rates in Clark County last month, 3 times the norm.
All done.
Nick Watt, CNN, Clark County, Washington State.
Child obesity is an important topic, but not very known. Here on campus tomorrow, there will be a lecture on child obesity at 1 p.m. in the College of Health and Social Services Annex, room 202. Professor Christopher Sirocco will present his research related to children obesity. Diet in the border region, things are not so sweet.
A lollipop for allergy relief? A retired Los Alamos biologist thinks he has found the solution to long-term allergy relief. Cliff Hahn believes the cause of environmental allergies is bacteria in the mouth. The lollipop will stabilize good bacteria and prevent the immune system from overworking. Hahn's Allerpops still need FDA approval before they can be considered a medical treatment. It has been a really nice day, so I'm wondering what it's going to be looking like.
That's right. And with that, Andres is next with the weather.gov national forecast.
Well, it's going to be a mix of good and bad, but first let's get through the bigger picture right now. We're taking a look at our overnight lows across the country. Coat Bank at negative 16 degrees and Seattle below freezing. Much of the western coast, and you can see this on our next graphic, is going to be seeing a strong system moving into the region. The Sierra Nevada is getting a nice snowpack, which is great for their drought relief in the state of California. San Diego County is seeing up to 3 to 5 inches of downpours for that area. Now this system will move on east and head over to the borderland. Now we won't see that much moisture here, but we will see that bulk of wind. So the next graphic is I want to get into is some safety tips for those winds. Here in the borderland, springtime means high winds, and what that means being safe on the roads. These winds can cause some crosswinds, and especially when you're passing those semis on I-10 and I-25, you want to stay clear of those big trucks. Now we do have flying debris as well, picking up dust, and if you have any respiratory difficulties, it's always best to stay indoors. What this wind will bring to our temperatures is coming up after the break.
Today, AIG reported a quarterly loss, which was below the profit that analysts had been looking for.
At 11 on 90.7 FM and streaming live on KRWG.org.
On Masterpiece.
Freedom for Ireland!
Is her ladyship at home?
Who wants to know?
I beg of you, be very careful.
It could involve some danger.
You think I've lost my mind? Victoria on Masterpiece. Thursday at 8 p.m.
Variety Studio Actors on Actors invites you to listen in on the most compelling stories behind the year's most buzzed about acting performances.
Even with comedies, I always think about what breaks their heart.
Do you know what my worst nightmare is? Singing and having that moment where your voice goes, ah.
With Melissa McCarthy and Lupita Nyong'o, Timothy Chalamet and Emma Stone, and Emily Blunt and Hugh Jackman.
Thursday at 9 p.m.
Hey folks, welcome back. Let's take a look at our temperatures across the state of New Mexico. Right now, 47 in Farmington, 44 in Santa Fe, 48 in Albuquerque, 55 in Socorro, 55 in Clovis, 63 our warm spot in Roswell, 58 in Deming, and 55 in Las Cruces. Now those winds will pick up tomorrow, which we will see a warmer day for us, 79 in Roswell, 60 in Ruidoso, 71 in Clovis, and 70 in both Deming and Las Cruces. As for tonight in TRC, we're going to see those mostly cloudy skies move in tonight, 43 degrees, and those winds will carry more cloud coverage into our area, so a high of 69 for tomorrow. As for Silver City, we're going to see a low of 38 degrees tonight and a high of 58 for tomorrow. And then here in the city of the Cruces, we will see more cloud coverage tonight, 42, and our expected high is 70 degrees with those breezy conditions. What that looks like for your weekend is coming up later on.
A confessed serial killer is helping the FBI identify some of his victims.
That's the first story in today's Southwest Minute.
Officials are releasing their portraits made by confessed killer Samuel Little. He's serving life sentences for 4 murders in California and Texas. He also told investigators that he killed about 90 other people. Officials have confirmed more than 30 killings, but they're still trying to corroborate Little's claim. A food company in Texas is recalling nearly 100,000 pounds of frozen chicken. Happy Foodie is pulling their Bloody Mary-inspired chicken, Marsala chicken, and Mediterranean herb chicken. The company is recalling the food because the labels do not disclose that the chicken contains eggs, a potential allergen. And a butterfly conservation group has joined the fight against the border wall. The National Butterfly Center is located just north of the Rio Grande in Texas. It's where the Trump administration is planning to build a wall. The group says it would cut the sanctuary in two, threatening the butterflies. The center has gone to court to stop it. I'm Melissa Tejas with today's Southwest Minute.
So the basketball teams have a big game coming up tonight, and baseball starts their season this weekend.
How fun. Well, Michaela Romero will tell us more on that next with sports.
Thanks, guys. Coming up in sports, the women's track team is preparing for the WAC championships, and there are a lot of home games this weekend. Don't go too far because News 22 Sports is next.
Variety Studio Actors on Actors takes you behind the scenes with Hollywood's brightest stars.
I'm living my truth through my work.
I like reading the script, I'm like, oh man, this is incredible.
That movie broke so many glass ceilings.
Featuring John Krasinski and Rosamund Pike, Michael B. Jordan and Charlize Theron, and Maggie Gyllenhaal and Regina King.
Thursday at 9:30 p.m.
From pure electric to pure performance, Motor Week looks at factors mattering most to consumers. Hi, I'm Norma Vichot, Program Manager here at KRWG, and its third decade of reviewing cars, trucks, and utility vehicles spanning the needs of buyers. Motor Week shares tips on keeping your car running and keeping the pace in the automotive lifestyle. The engines start revving Saturday mornings at 11:30. For more programming information, visit krwg.org.
This is KRWG-TV News 22 Sports.
Welcome back. I'm Michaela Romero, and let's talk sports. Track is back. The women's track team has been back at it these past few weekends, and their winter training is paying off. The Aggies have been consistently improving performances and getting personal bests and beating school records. The women are on a bye week this week, and the Aggies are preparing for the WAC championship next weekend in Boise, Idaho. This week's athletes of the week are Yemisi Oriunion and Eli Chuha. Senior Yemisi received her first honor for the indoor season this past weekend in Albuquerque. She took 4th in weight throw and got a school record and personal best mark of 20.16 meters. Senior Eli Chuha also received Athlete of the Week. He plays forward and has been a key player for the Aggies. And now, let's hit it to baseball. The New Mexico State baseball team is preparing for their season opener this weekend. The men have been ranked second under the 2019 preseason baseball coaches poll, right under Grand Canyon University. The men will take on Texas Southern for a 3-game weekend series at Presley Askew Field. The first game will be this Friday at 4 p.m. There is a new rugby team in Kenya, but it isn't your ordinary rugby team. This is the first deaf rugby team, and in Kenya, deafness is often misunderstood. But this team is finding different ways to communicate, and it is bringing the deaf community closer through sport. The men's basketball team has been out of town for the past few games, but they are finally back at a home game this week. The men took victory against Grand Canyon University this past weekend with a close score of 67-64. The men are at a 9-game winning streak and are looking to keep it going till tomorrow and to the weekend. They will be playing Utah Valley at 7. And that's all for sports tonight. Join us for more sports action tomorrow. Still ahead on News 22, Andres will be back to take a look at your 5-day forecast. But first, does Valentine's Day have you thinking of your ex? Here's one way you can express your feelings and find out more when News 22 returns.
It's the Movies for Grown-Ups Awards. For movies that speak to grown-up minds, join Career Achievement winner Shirley MacLaine.
Thank you very much.
And your host Martin Short when the star-studded Movies for Grown-Ups Awards with AARP the magazine comes to great performances.
Friday at 8 p.m. on KRWG-Public Media.
It's the Movies for Grown-Ups Awards. For movies that speak to grown-up minds, join Career Achievement winner Shirley MacLaine.
Thank you very much.
And your host Martin Short when the star-studded Movies for Grown-Ups Awards with AARP the magazine comes to great performances.
Friday at 8 p.m. on KRWG-Public Media.
I have inflammatory arthritis, osteoarthritis, I have fibromyalgia.
If you're on chronic opioids, not only do we find they don't work as well on chronic pain, the risks start to mount.
You can look at the risks of opioids, but nothing is risk-free.
Correct. And to that, I have increasingly been using more natural products.
I'm Dr. Peter Salgo. Join us this week for Second Opinion.
Sunday at 1:30 p.m.
Let's take a look at our top stories. President Trump is looking to get a new deal for the border wall he has been proposing. Over 2,000 people have signed a petition to keep the Pickwick on Avenida de Mesilla from closing down. And Diana Castillo gave us an inside look at the counterfeit currency problem businesses have been facing in Las Cruces.
Are you still bitter about your ex? The El Paso Zoo has a pretty good idea to get over him or her, just in time for Valentine's Day. So good, it had to stop the campaign early. Last week, the zoo posted on Facebook that you can name a cockroach after your ex, then watch it be fed to a meerkat on Valentine's Day. The campaign became so popular that several days after the original post, the zoo had to stop accepting names. But still, if you were one of the lucky ones that got your ex's name in on time, the zoo will be feeding your roach to a meerkat and other animals, and you can watch via live stream on Valentine's Day.
There's even a live stream for it?
I know, they've gone way far out on that.
Yeah, these animals are gonna be full.
They must really not like their ex
at all. I know Hooters does that. If you come into the picture of your ex and you rip it, you get 10 free wings. You're just getting creative at this point. But let's talk weather. Thursday, as in for tomorrow, we will see a high 70 degrees. The temperature is going to look nice, but the wind is the big story this coming week. We're going to see those windy conditions for Thursday. And as well as Friday, we do have a slight chance, and I mean slight chance, of seeing some scattered showers in our region. And Saturday, we're going to stay breezy again. Sunday is looking to be the calmest of days at 58 degrees. And then on Monday, we do have that another chance of rain with more winds coming in by the start of your next work week. Spring is always rough here in the borderland. We see windy conditions, it gets warm, then it gets cold, and people just get sick from those temperatures.
It's just so sporadic everywhere.
Yeah.
And don't forget, you can catch all of today's aired stories and past newscasts on our YouTube page at youtube.com/KRWG News 22.
And follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat for show updates and the latest on what the News 22 team is up to.
And that's all for News 22 Wednesday. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight.
I'm Andres Valle.
I'm Victoria Valderrama.
And I'm Adán Contreras.
Have a good night.
Good night.
This news brief en español is brought to you by Noticias 22, Spanish language news for southern New Mexico and West Texas. Noticias 22.
Hola y bienvenidos a este breve informativo de Noticias 22. Francisco Soto con ustedes. La policía de Las Cruces arrestó a un hombre sospechoso de agredir sexualmente a una mujer ayer por la noche. El hombre de 19 años, Shane McGarvey, es acusado de 3 cargos de abuso sexual, un cargo de agresión agravada y un cargo de obstruir a un oficial. Después de las 11 de la noche, la policía de Las Cruces recibió reportes de gritos en una casa en la cuadra 2000 de Pagosa Hills. Oficiales entraron a la casa y encontraron a McGarvey encima de una mujer. El oficial dio órdenes a McGarvey para que se alejara de la mujer. Investigadores descubrieron que McGarvey se puso de pie y se acercó al oficial de manera atacante. El oficial pudo contener a McGarvey y lo puso bajo custodia sin más incidentes. McGarvey fue ingresado en el centro de detención del condado de Doña Ana, donde se encuentra sin derecho a fianza. El senador de Texas, Ted Cruz, está proponiendo una nueva fuente de financiamiento para el muro de la frontera del presidente Trump. Ayer Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán fue encontrado culpable en 10 ocasiones, incluyendo la participación en una empresa criminal. Después de la convicción de Guzmán, Cruz escribió en su cuenta de Twitter que el valor de las propiedades de Guzmán debe ser dirigida hacia seguridad en la frontera. Eso es todo de mi parte. Para Noticias 22, Francisco Soto.